All right, so now that I think I have my fuel gauge actually working, and I think it was always working, probably. I just didn't know how to test it correctly. The problem is with the sender, most likely. But to test it, what you need is basically three wires. On my case, I just use a shunt here. So you have battery connected to, let me just zoom in that, to B. And you have another terminal that says T, which is tank. So B for battery, T for tank. And you need, on the battery, you also need to ground the case. So when these two well, I use this shunt here to connect them, but keep on doing this, I keep on forgetting to get myself some place to hold these things. Let me just try and paste this up here. Hopefully it will work. Don't move, don't fall. Yeah, because I broke the windings inside, but I was able to solder them. Uh, Basically, thanks God, it was a miracle. It worked. The other cable goes from the battery just to do a test, and you place it. You touch the tank, and it should respond. Um, this is how you test it. This is how you know that your gauge is working. After the gauge is working, that is another thing that you should consider when uh, going to the sender. You can calibrate this because this is magnetic, so you can calibrate the magnets. The way you calibrate the magnets is here. On the back, you have these two nuts. One, this is quite easy. So um, you have a needle there, and you know there's a magnet, there's a metallic place on top of it, and there are two magnets on the corner, as you've seen on the inside of this case, of this gauge. What you do is, depending on if your fuel gauge, or if your sender or something, let's just say that you have your tank with let's say half a tank and it's already on empty. What you're going to do is you're going to push this one a little bit higher, and you can just get it to drop just a little bit of this. So you need be careful when you're doing this. uh, those plastic places, they might just budge, and when they budge, that's when you break a winding. So um, lube them up, uh, and just be gentle, be very careful not to use force on this because they'll break your windings. That's how I broke mine. So that's how you do it. So if you have your needle pointing too much to the E, you drop the magnet on this side and just climb a little bit on the other side. And if it's going too much for the fuel, for the F, you can just drop the magnet on the other side, and that's how you calibrate. So you kind of have to play with those two magnets to get a good reading. So if you're getting a bad reading on your gauge, that's how you do it. So while the compressor is charging up with air, what I did is I took out the front cover. It has these two side clamps which hold it, and you kind of spread them apart and you take it out. So what I noticed is that there's a lot of rust inside my gauge. So that could be a problem since this is all operated with current creating magnetic fields. So this kind of creates a magnetic field, I believe, and it pushes the needle over to that side as it builds up resistance in here. Um, so what I did is I just put a flat screwdriver on that coil right there in the middle, Now it doesn't quite look shiny, but it is. There is still a little bit of gunk there, but as I moved it around and with a flat screwdriver, just gently touching it, I could see that it was getting really flashy. So I just did that, just poured some oil, some WD-40 because of the pressure, and it kind of cleaned out a little bit, quite a bit. So right now, I'm just waiting for the compressor to fill up with pressure, so I can just pressurize this with air to clean out some of the gunk as well, and to just remove some oil. Another thing that I did, as you can notice here, with a flat screwdriver, you can unscrew this top nut, and it exposes this contact. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get this thing out so I can clean out the contacts a little bit better. Because with old stuff, with very old stuff, vintage stuff, as you can see, I have some vintage refrigerators as well. Um, Most of the common problems, even with relays, it's contacts. I had a 1952 or 1948. Um, what was it? Was it a Crosley? I think it was a Crosley Shelvator. And what I did, the relay wasn't working, so I took the relay out, I disassembled everything, cleaned it up, just had like a file just to clean up the contacts, and assembled everything, and it started working just fine. 70 old refrigerator just working fine with the original compressor and everything. So yeah, so most of the problems contacts, so clean everything up as much as you can without damaging. As you can see, this wires, this coil, it's a very thin copper wire going through here, so this looks kind of the same size of as a hair, so this can break very easily. Okay, so be gentle, be careful. You don't want to damage any of this. Okay, so let's give it a try. Okay, into some bad news. I think that I had some, either I had or I actually cut them by accident. Some of the wires they broke, so I haven't tried to figure out which went where, but still can't get any magnetism on this. So this gauge, either I find someone who knows how to properly create a magnetism here, or this one is rubbish.